In more local news, former Army Commander Sarath Fonseca was directed to undergo physiotherapy once again today. This was at a private hospital in Colombo.
Prison officials brought Sarath Fonseca to a private hospital in Colombo for physiotherapy this afternoon. Following medical examinations conducted at the hospital yesterday, Fonseca was advised to obtain physiotherapy for a shoulder injury which he had developed.
We eat the prison food, pulsambal and rice for breakfast, dry fish and dal and rice for lunch. But the public are suffering even more. They fear suppression. They can't even obtain the meals that we receive in prison. To change this situation, the corrupt rulers should be chased away.
The lawyer who appeared on behalf of the court-martial judges pointed out before the Court of Appeal today that the court-martial verdict cannot be accepted as a verdict if the President did not approve it. This was stated when the petition that was filed before the Court of Appeal against the prison term of former Army Commander Sarath Fonseca that was ordered by the first court-martial was taken up for hearing today. The petition was taken up before a bench comprising Justices Eric Basnaika, A.W.S. Salam and Upali Aberatna. Attorney-at-law Sanjay Vajayawardena submitted to court that according to Section 63 of the Army Act, the verdict of a court-martial is not valid until it is approved by an authority. He further submitted that since the President has approved the verdict, it cannot be challenged before court. He noted that under Regulation 118 of the Army Act, accepting or rejecting a court-martial decision lies with the President. He also pointed out that according to Clause 140 of the Constitution, the court has to disperse justice according to the prevailing law. He also pointed out that according to Clause 140 of the Constitution, the court has to dispense justice according to the prevailing law. Since Clause 35 of the Constitution is still in force, the court cannot ignore it when it is dispensing justice, he argued. The case was postponed to the 28th of this month. 7 to 8 murders take place in the country every day. Elephants die or are being killed. The army is being appointed for everything. When murders took place in Kahabata, the army was deployed. The government is trying to make the army and the police unpopular. Be cautious about that. Meanwhile, a case filed against former Army Commander Sarath Fonseca and his Presidential Election Secretary, former Captain Senika Haripreddy Silva, was taken up before the Colombo High Court Judge Dipali Vijayasundara. In this case, both are charged with harboring army deserters and creating dissent against the government. The case was postponed for November 14th.
Postal voting in the second phase of the local government elections were conducted today. 60,443 individuals were eligible to cast their postal votes for 65 local government authorities. The election secretariat noted that state sector employees who couldn't exercise their franchise today will be given the opportunity to cast their vote until the 23rd of this month. The election secretariat added that no complaint was received with regard to postal voting.
You're with the news first, taking a look at other local stories now. The OIC of the Akmimana Police in Gaul has been transferred to the office of DIG in charge of the southern area. A high-ranking police officer at the police headquarters noted that this step has been taken as a disciplinary measure. A hunger strike that was staged by a group of persons, including a Buddhist priest in the Gaul town this morning against the police OIC, led to this decision. This hunger strike was organized by the Kadavat Satara and Telpatwe Pradana Adhikirana Sanganayaka Venerable Mathugama Gunaratana Thera opposite the Gaul bus stand this morning. Several key residents also joined this hunger strike in support of the Buddhist monk. This Akmimana area is filled with alcohol and there are robberies as well. A girl cannot wear a chain as it is being stolen. When we inform the OIC, he is asking us to catch the thieves and come. Today there is no environment where people can live freely. The OIC and the ASP of the Galle police arrived at the location to hold a discussion with the protesters this afternoon. However, those attempts were unsuccessful. Subsequently, UPFA parliamentarian Nishant Muthuhettigama arrived at the location. The parliamentarian made a phone call to the ASP of Galle. Now there is no use in making decent requests. The fellow in Akmimane is a scoundrel. Tell that scoundrel to put leave and go home. Appoint an acting OIC from Bopaudila or from Vatharagoda. Send the OIC on leave. Otherwise he will get a beating from me. Speak to the DIG and send the OIC on leave. When inquired, a high-ranking police officer at the police headquarters said that a police inspector who served at the Galle police has been appointed as the new OIC of the Akmimane police. DIG in charge of the southern area, BKW Amarasinghe, noted that the OIC of Akmimane has been transferred to the office of the DIG. When inquiries were made from Elections Commissioner Mahinda Deshapriya as to whether police OICs could be transferred in areas where elections will be held, he stated that transfers could be made based on disciplinary action. However, he pointed out that an officer from another province cannot be deployed. The increase in population affects the food chain around the globe.
On our continuing coverage of the World Population Day 2011, which was marked yesterday, we take a look at the connection between population and food supplies.
Yesterday, in this series, we focused on population and climate change. News First, Zulfiq Farzan and Daruni Herat filed this report on food and the increasing number of the world population.
According to the latest figures, around 1 to 2 billion people around the world are malnourished, and a majority of them are children under the age of 10. This indicates a combination of insufficient food, low income, and inadequate distribution of food. As population grows, the demand for food increases, which also sees a significant increase in the rise of food prices globally. Population growth is one of the several demographic factors likely to contribute towards the current global food crisis. With the growth of the population, rises the demand of food. This incidentally leads towards more harvesting and the reduction of the environment and directly connects to severe climate change. Eventually, owing to climate change, water resources tend to disappear. With the lack of water resources to maintain the food supply, the production of food dramatically reduces, resulting in a major food crisis around the world. To avoid this, experts have stated that a balanced consumption and production method is required so that the future populations too will have a chance of moving ahead.
As the world population is growing geometrically, land, water, energy and biological resources that provide an adequate supply of food are at risk. Consumption while preservation is the best way to maintain a balanced ecosystem. I'm Daruni here for News First.
Welcome back. You're watching News First. In more local news, United National Party General Secretary Thisata Nayaka revealed to the media the issues that were discussed at the recent meeting between UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon and opposition leader Ranil Wickremesinghe.
Wickremesinghe මහතාත් මෙහිදී කාරණා කීපයක් එක්සත් ජාතීන්ගේ මහලේකම්වරයාට දැනුම් දීලා තිබෙනවා.
At this meeting, Wickremesinghe briefed the UN Secretary General on several issues. First is that having learned from the mistakes of the past, that all of us in the country are working towards strengthening democracy. Wickremesinghe had stressed on the need for all political parties in the country to work together in order to protect Sri Lanka's good name and image internationally. The need to act according to international agreements was also taken up for discussion. The government is continuing its discussions with the TNA to seek a political solution to the ethnic issue. We would like to reiterate that it would be beneficial if the issues discussed at these meetings are forwarded to Parliament along with the proposals of the government. UNP Western Provincial Councillor Attorney-at-Law Srilal Laktilaka says that the United National Party needs a leader who will challenge the government. He expressed this view while addressing a meeting held in Kandy yesterday with the participation of co-deputy leader of the party, Sajith Premadasa. A garland was placed on the portrait of late President Ranasinghe Premadasa at the public rally that was held at the Postal Auditorium in Kandy. The highest honor that could be offered to my father is to direct the United National Party towards a winning path without keeping the United National Party in the opposition forever. If we wait until others tell us, we can keep the party in the opposition for several decades. We also have a thirst, a greed and an aspiration to render a service for the country. We need a new leadership in order for the party to emerge victorious by 2014. The leadership should not swing here and there. That leadership cannot come into agreements with the government. We need a leadership that will challenge the government directly. We need a leader who possesses humane qualities. However, leadership alone is not sufficient. We need to organize ourselves. We cannot forge ahead without being organized.